Hi everyone. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Justin. Thanks for joining. Good evening. I hope everyone is having a good day and a good week so far. This is the fourth episode of my podcast, and the title of this episode is characteristics of a good leader. It's what I think are the characteristics of a good leader. Yeah, I can't cover them all, this is not all of them, but I do think this is a I like this list. So I would just like to say that anyone can be a good leader. Um, Being a good leader, it's not about being the most skilled or the most talented or having a college degree or being the most successful or having the most money. There's nothing wrong with those things, but that's not what I think a good leader is. To sum it up, I think that a good leader, um, they have good character, or a good leader has godly character. So I think that's like to sum it up in one sentence. So yeah. So like I said, anyone can be a good leader. It doesn't matter if you're in positional authority or not. Anyone can be a good leader. So I think that's good news. So yeah, and so I'll start off with my with the characteristic that I like the most. So being a good leader, uh, the first characteristic of what I think a good leader is to care for people, and that can be expressed in two different ways. One is through empathy, and the other is through encouragement. So I do think that with empathy, I do think that a good leader that when they see someone hurting or when they see someone going through hardship, I do think that a good leader will want to give empathy and lift that person up. So I do think that I do think that a good leader will be generous with giving empathy. So I do think that a good leader will care for other people by giving them empathy. That when they see a person being weighed down by the heart by hardship or by life, um, they will want to lift that person up. So I do think that one of a really good effective way to care for other people is by giving them empathy. Yeah, when they see a person going through hardship or they're suffering, they will want to give them empathy and lift that person up. I think that's very important. So okay, and then the second part to that is is encouragement, which is my favorite. That's the one that I like the most. So I do think that a good leader, um, I do think good leaders are encouragers. I do think that I don't think you can be a good leader if you're not an encourager. I just don't think you can. So I do think that good leaders will want to lift up and build up others. There's a proverb that anxiety weighs on the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. So I do think that a good leader likes to lift up other people, especially when life is weighing them down. Um, so yeah, I do think that with both empathy and encouragement, a good leader is generous with both. So I think that that's characteristic of a good leader. is to want to build up and lift up others. I do, and then for any supervisor or manager, I do think that when they give a review to a to an employee, I really like it when a supervisor or manager, when they emphasize, when they highlight um, the employee's strengths, and then when they address their weaknesses. I think that's a good, effective way to give a review. That's so. I think encouragement is just it's critical. It's so important to being a good leader. So that's the second one. And I like to read a scripture. So um so this is John 10:11. Um I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. And that's Jesus talking. So that's yeah. So Jesus was the perfect leader. So he was the in my opinion the best leader ever. So that he was just such a great example of what a good leader is. So I think it's a good scripture. And so okay. So that's the first characteristic to care for people by giving empathy and encouragement. And then the second characteristic is to be honest. So it's in two different ways. One is to be open to and to welcome honesty. So in one way it's being humble that you're open to and you welcome whether it's corrections or suggestions or criticism that you're open to and you welcome it. I think a good leader does that. A good leader does, and then I do think also a good leader will admit when they make a mistake or when they're wrong or when they mess up. So I do think that humility is a very big part of being a good leader. So yeah, I do think that the first part of honesty is when it comes is honesty coming to you that you're open to and that you welcome and that you accept honesty by being humble. And that so I do think that that's very important. And then the second part of it is being honest with your words. Is giving honesty. So I do think that good leaders are honest with their words. I do think that a good leader they care about being truthful, and when they are truthful, they speak the truth in love. They're being kind with their honesty. So I do think that a good leader they care about being honest. They care that their words are truthful. So yeah, I do think that a good leader is honest and truthful with their words. That they're they're not okay with dishonesty. They're not okay with that. They don't. They're not okay with being dishonest. They're not okay with that. I think that's characteristic of a good leader. So that's cool. And the third one. So the second characteristic of being a good leader is being honest. The third characteristic of a good leader is to be helpful, or to be willing to be a servant. I do think that a good leader has a willingness to be helpful and a willingness to be a servant. That uh they are willing to do the lowly jobs. Uh I think that um a good example of that is when Jesus he washed his disciples' feet. Jesus, the person who created the whole world, he was willing to do a lowly, dirty job of washing his disciples' feet. Such a good example of being a good leader is by being helpful and being willing to be a servant. So I do think that when you give service to others, it makes an immense difference when you're being helpful. So I do think that the good leaders, they're willing to do the lowly jobs. They're willing to do those lowly jobs. So I do think that's very to be helpful and to be willing to be a servant, whether it's serving at your church or it's or doing chores around the house. To be helpful is definitely very important to being a good leader. And and then so that's the third characteristic is to be helpful or to be willing to be a servant. The fourth characteristic is uh, is to be determined, and that's expressed in two different ways. One is uh, one is by being consistent, and the other is by perseverance. And I do think that they work together. So I do think that to like the fourth characteristic, having determination is very important. I do think that it's 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 very important to give it an earnest effort on a daily basis. So not it doesn't have to be every day. Not God does not expect perfection, but I do think that to give it an earnest effort on a daily basis is really good. And so I do think that having consistency, it develops and it builds up perseverance. And I do think that having perseverance, I do think I do think that when you're being consistent, you will have to persevere. That they can't they go to they work together. So I do think that, yeah. And then I do think that for perseverance, that it is important that when when the hard, painful times strike, that it's important to keep going. Don't let the hard, painful times stop you or prevent you from accomplishing the goal or accomplishing the mission. It's really important that even we don't like these times. We don't like the hard, painful times, but it's important that when the hard, painful times strike, to keep going. So that perseverance is just so important. And I do think that to be consistent, you will have to persevere. And like I said, I do think that consistency develops and builds up your perseverance. So I do think that determination is a key characteristic to being a good leader, both with consistency and perseverance. I don't think either one is more important than the other. I think they're both very important. So that's the fourth characteristic is to be of being a good leader is to be determined. And then the last one, the last characteristic of being a good leader is is to be responsible. I think this is not a fun one, but I do think this is a very important one. So I do think that I do think one that when there's a rule or a guideline, it's important to follow and to abide by that rule or that guideline, and that's regardless of whether you like it or whether you agree with it. I think a good leader, they have the approach that if it's a rule or if it's a guideline, they will follow it. They will abide by it. So yeah, I do think that's the point for for being a good leader is to be responsible by following and abiding by the rules and the guidelines, whether they agree with them or not. And then the other part of that is to be respectful. To be respectful. To be. I do think that to be responsible is that you have to be respectful to those around you, including your leaders. Um, yeah, so including your leaders. So I do think you know, like your boss or the school teacher or the government or the police officer, um, regardless of whether you like them or not. I do think it's important to respect your leaders. So yeah, I think that's very important. Then also to be respectful of those around you. Doesn't matter if it's the mailman, if it's your mom, your dad, um, your neighbor, a person you go to church with, your coworker, the delivery driver. Doesn't matter who it is. Be respectful of everyone. Every make the most of every opportunity. Yeah. So everyone you interact with and everyone you encounter, you should be respectful. So yeah. Okay. But yeah, that was the last characteristic, a key characteristic of what I think a good leader is to be responsible, by yeah to be responsible. So okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you for joining me in my podcast. It was good. It was good having you here with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.